Tatnall was up against former national champion Gary Rush and American legend Leland McSpadden, and right from the early heats it was a case of putting the foot down and trying to keep on the track. Tatnall's sprinter ended up on top of Brett Loadsman, but despite the crash, Tatnall was able to make some running repairs and continue. In the 25-lap final, Gary Rush led for most of the race, but with just 3 laps to go, Tatnall took control and came up with the checkered flag. Rush held on to second, McSpadden was third.
It was hardly the best weather for football and occasionally the play suffered. Good lead-up work spoiled by a slippery ball. Crowd numbers were well down on last year, but those who went took the rain in good humour. Environment Minister and local member Chris Harcher officially opened the tournament and said the Terrigal Sevens is growing in stature every year.
This particular venue has now come to symbolise the start of rugby union in this state.
Amongst the crowd were Australian selectors eyeing off a prospective Wallaby team for next month's Hong Kong Sevens. And just a few minutes ago, Australian coach Bob Dwyer named the squad to go to Hong Kong, and there's plenty of surprises, including Queenslander Ili Tabula and new speedster Barry Lee, also from Queensland.
The 18.2 hectares of land is on Lake Road, Glendale. In the mid-80s, it was owned by the Hooker Corporation and earmarked for development as a multi-million-dollar shopping complex. Consent for that development lapsed, and last November the land was sold to Sydney-based company Stockland Trust Group for more than $2 million. Stockland owns and operates 11 shopping centres Australia-wide, including ones at Jesmond and Gosford. Plans for the site went on display at Lake Macquarie City Council today. They feature a single-storey, 25,000 square metre retail shopping complex, making it slightly larger than Jesmond. It'll be built in 2 stages and cost $23 million. Stage 1 has 2 supermarkets and 30 specialty shops. This will take 2 years to complete. The next stage will take another 2 years and includes a major discount department store. Stockland's National Development Manager Brad Myers said from Sydney today the company would use local labour to build the complex, this representing around 300 jobs. Upon completion, he estimates a further 100 positions in the retail stores. The plans are open for public comment for a month. They'll then go to a full council meeting for approval around May. If the proposal gets the green light, Stockland says construction could start within a few months. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
The Bar Beach Bowling Club is nestled away behind the surf and has some of the best kept greens in the city. Today the Ladies Association recorded 60 years of competition. The club now boasts nearly 70 members, and over the years they've brought home some big trophies. But you don't have to be a champion to be in the club.
It's marvellous for women on their own. I mean, in past years there was nothing for them to do very much. But now they can come to the club and always someone here to talk to.
Compared to 60 years ago, these women are flashing heaps of leg. Skirts were ankle length and thick white stockings were the order of the day.
In days gone by, we used to be called white leghorns, and with white stockings and long dresses, and you know, I think that the uniform is very smart and nice now.
Enid Jones is the club's longest serving member and still throws the odd bowl down.
I thought when I joined at 40, I thought, well, I was a bit mad, you know, I was a bit young. But it was all right.
Enid, what do you think the next 60 years hold for the club?
I don't know, but I don't think I'll be here to see it either.
But she was definitely around to take part in today's friendship tournament.
BHP crews spent most of the day cleaning up the spill, which occurred at 10 to 5 this morning. Most of the oil was contained in this oil separation facility on the edge of the steelworks. However, some did escape into the Hunter River, but it's not known how much.
Now the oil is so fine that some of it has escaped through the series of weirs and out into the river, which is why within about an hour we had the booms up, helping to contain the oil.
According to BHP's Kate Graham, the oil is used to scrub clean gas from the coke ovens. It escaped when a catchment tank overflowed.
The oil is non-toxic. Obviously any oil into the river is bad, but this oil is very light, it spreads very quickly, but it also breaks down very quickly. We have checked and there should be no problem with the bottom of the river immediately in front here or with fish in this area.
BHP told the Environment Protection Authority about the spill soon after it happened. The authority is now investigating. BHP is confident, however, the overflow problem will soon be rectified.
The ability of that tank to overflow and cause a problem like this will be stopped as part of our $700,000 tar plant upgrading that's due to be completed within the next 6 to 8 months.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
When the government provided funds of $10 million 5 years ago, work began in earnest to restore Tuggerah Lakes. So far, Wyong Shire Council has helped install a major drainage network and removed thousands of tonnes of nutrients and sediments feeding into the lake system. Despite the efforts, the project has lacked an overall approach to control the source of contaminated runoff from the surrounding valley areas.
Yes, it has been a problem in the past because while the Lakes Restoration Committee was set up to carry out the lakes restoration work, and that's been very admirably done by that committee, it is now a very appropriate time to look at the broader catchment-wide basis to see if we can bring together all these programs to ensure the safety of the lakes.
Council's senior strategic planner Dan Smith says various problems plaguing the lakes have always been looked at in isolation. Now the Environment Protection Authority has introduced a total catchment management plan. He says the initiative is welcomed and will be the first step in providing broader-based solutions.
The major benefits will be, one, an integrated approach to land use planning so that what we do up in the valleys complements our works of what we're trying to achieve in the lakes. It also allows us to pull together the expertise of government agencies at the highest possible level to make sure we're all working together.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
I mean, seriously. I've got the box on now, let's go. That's great, fellas. That's tremendous. That's really good. It makes me.
The Mooney, while there are cable out, could have been avoided.
Everything was under his name on the Tuesday Morning's Herald. So everything McCarthy and Hannah. Because they changed the price of power. I just want to take this opportunity to welcome Don Bowman.
The rain swept away just long enough to get 2 heats in. Sailors in the Manly class are aged between 5 and 15, and although they're young, they display many skills used by the seniors. Current national champions Nathan and Sarah Wilmont set the pace for the rest of the field. Points from today's races go towards the state championship. And on Lake Macquarie, the wind was much stronger, causing plenty of headaches for rowers from all over the state in the Hunter Club Regatta. The chop was so heavy that all single and double sculls had to be cancelled. However, the locals did manage the conditions better, easily winning the men's novice fours. Most of the other Hunter teams won places in nearly all the heats they contested. The 1.5 kilometre swim leg quickly separated the leaders from the rest of the pack. The Anchorage Triathlon at Salamander Bay attracts the sport's hardcore competitors. Most of those in today's race use it as the final opportunity to fine-tune their technique before the full course Foster meeting next month. Sydney's Jason Harper let loose on the 40 kilometre bike leg, reaching speeds of 65 kilometres an hour. The rest of the field steadily dropped back. Although Harper was more than 7 minutes ahead of his nearest rival, not everyone gave up. Others had the support and drive that can't be measured. The 10 kilometre run was almost dead flat, but gave competitors the feeling they were running uphill. As expected, Harper, who was in the Australian team for the World Championships, easily won in a time of 1 hour, 47 minutes.
I just put my head down and hoped no one would get near me, and as it was, I didn't back off the whole way. I went as hard as I could.
Second and third places were taken by 2 Newcastle entrants, and the first woman home was Helen Corbett from Taree.
Members of the Institute of Foresters met on the North Coast to celebrate World Forestry Day. Chairman Bill Nethery says much of Australia's forests were preserved due to the efforts of foresters who in the 60s recognised the need to preserve our forests.
But we're also here to look at the future management of those forests. And in this particular meeting we're here to focus on eucalypt plantations.
The Institute's main objective is to achieve sound scientific management of forests.
These purposes include conservation, recreation, water catchment protection, habitat for wildlife and wood production.
The Institute believes there should be an increase in the amount of eucalypt plantations in Australia. It says that through meetings such as the one held today, there'll be an improvement in the management of forests. It was a colourful procession through Tamworth City. At the start of Senior Citizens Week, the efforts of those who care for many of the elderly in the community were recognised. During a special ceremony, a number of people were awarded scrolls for their efforts. They included Dallas Bright, who runs a taxi service for people in wheelchairs, and also Dave Lenham, who's the manager of Tamworth City Bus and Travel Service. He donates time and buses to take the elderly to many activities in the area. The activities will continue throughout the week.
The Magpies started with all the fury an angry bird could muster, trying to push the Knights towards Queensland. By half-time, Cole White had become the crowd villain with a high tackle on Paul Marquette and escaping any action from the referee. Next time he took the ball up, though, he knew the Knights weren't impressed. But as the game started to wind down, he tried it again, this time on Brunker, and luckily he missed. Jamie Ainscoe wrapped up 2 tries but didn't help his kicker, refusing to move in under the post despite being unmarked. The kick was off, but the Knights later wrapped up the game 18-9. The dirt flew as well as the bikes on the Inverell Motorcycle Sports Complex. Top competitors and beginners dusted off their machines to get an early start to the motocross season. It's the 3rd year the series has been held and it proved a bonanza of action.
And it's really great because the guys don't have to travel too far to race, and it's a great event. And here we've got some top riders who ride in the top Supercross races who come for a bit of a warm-up, as well as guys that are really bottom of the ladder riders, and they can just go out and have fun. As you know, the track's been revamped here and it suits all kind of riders.
Next month, riders from across Australia will compete at the complex in the 4-stroke nationals.
The players were warming up in Newcastle for the first hit-out tomorrow. Wimbledon junior doubles champion Catherine Barclay, with other members from the Institute of Sport, has fought her way through to the last 16 women after a series of competitions across the state.
These players are the players that we hope will really go on and make something of tennis for Australia.
One of the top men's seeds, Sydney player Grant Doyle, has already won Australian junior doubles and singles, plus the French Open junior doubles. Competitors have flown in from the US, Europe and New Zealand. Players see the satellite circuit as a stepping stone to the major tournaments. And while it's not Wimbledon or the Australian Open, there are still dollars to be won.
These are basically $10,000 tournaments in that vicinity, so there's good money up for grabs here.
Play starts tomorrow at 10 with the finals on Sunday.
Researchers from the Biological Sciences Department of the university took water samples soon after the fish kill was reported at the end of last month. Hundreds of dead and dying fish were found floating off the coast. Many more washed up on local beaches. Tests by the Environment Protection Authority suggested it wasn't a physical disease and perhaps a toxin was involved. Dr. Hugh Dunstan from the university says the evidence points to a toxic algal bloom.
When we looked at these samples, we found that they were indeed full of algae, at least half a dozen different species of algae. One in particular was identified by Dr. Gustav Hallegraaff in the University of Tasmania as being one associated with a fish kill in Denmark and France.
According to Dr. Dunstan, it's unclear what caused or nurtured the toxic bloom. Perhaps it was tidal conditions, water temperature, pollution, or even excessive nutrients from the Burwood Beach sewerage outfall. Head of the Hunters Environment Protection Authority, Brian Gilligan, says that while the university's findings are interesting, there's no conclusive evidence to suggest an algal bloom was responsible for the kill. He says the EPA is still investigating a number of possibilities, including chemical poisoning, but the true cause of the fish kill may never be known. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
A clean 1 metre swell at Newcastle Beach and grins all round for Surfest organisers.
We've got a good surf to start the week off, and round 1 and 2 of the men's trials will be in first thing in the morning.
The competing surfers signed in 144 men and about 40 women. The women get in the water on Thursday and the top-seeded men the following day. After rumours that world champion Kelly Slater was unlikely to make it due to a visa mix-up, organisers have given a commitment.
He arrives in Australia at 6:30 Friday morning, catches a connecting Aero Pelican flight up by 8:30, and we should see him in Newcastle by about 10 o'clock in the morning.
No question about it.
No question.
Slater is one of 10 of the world's top 16 in the event. This afternoon, the surfers went through their moves. The camera's out to catch all the action. No love will be lost when the competition gets underway tomorrow for nearly $64,000 in prize money.
While they weren't exactly crying into their beers, a meeting in Port Stephens of 250 hoteliers heard of tough times at the tap between drinkers' dollars drying up and rising government charges.
We are under strain from costs and charges, and we're asking for the state government to quit interfering in small business, give us the opportunity to get this country back on its feet.
But what really had the Australian Hotels Association conference burning was a proposal by State Independent Peter McDonald for smoking to be banned in pubs and clubs, with fines of up to $5,000 for managers who didn't comply.
What we're worried about is the constant interference from government. We're worried about freedom of choice in this country, and this is just one of those issues. You're going to have a dog catcher, big brother mentality.
The association says if the smoking ban comes into being, it will do more than just drive profits away from the bar, it will decimate the tourist industry.
The Asian tourist who happens to be in a $300 suite in the Intercontinental Hotel who's told he has to come down into Macquarie Street to have a cigarette, do you think he'll be back? It's going to cost jobs right across the state.
This afternoon, the smoking ban proposal was put on the back burner by the state government after 2 National Party ministers reportedly criticised the plan because it would infringe civil liberties. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
Get him on that end. That's the one Whoa, here. Whoa, whoa. Come on, get in. Come on. Come on. Right on the line. Come on.
While walking through the leafy grounds of his new academic home, Professor Raoul Mortley remembers his previous appointment as a Dean at Bond University, helping to get Australia's first private tertiary facility off the ground and free of public scepticism.
Its very unpopularity in some quarters was a considerable asset for it, but we there had to start from nothing.
As the Vice-Chancellor at Newcastle University, Professor Mortley is now settling in as the head of 15,000 students and 2,000 staff.
I've spent a great deal of time listening, basically.
But that's soon to change as he plans to use some of his Bond Uni experience to promote what he sees as this university's outstanding academic merits, particularly in its links with Asia.
There's a thing called marketing, which academic people never like to hear about. I think in the context of a university, marketing is simply about presenting the substance of what happens in the university to the community.
But a more immediate concern is complaints of overcrowding in some classes. The Vice-Chancellor plans to meet with the Students' Association next week and discuss, among other things, class sizes. Scott Bevan, NBN News.